Yes, ma'am.
All right, go ahead.
Hi, folks. Can you hear me okay? Can folks hear me yet? Hi, hello? Oh, there we are. Hi, if everyone could please take their seats. Hello, hi, good morning.
Good
Hello.
morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the White House. My name is Mario Cardona, and I serve as the Senior Advisor for Early Childhood Development with the White House Domestic Policy Council. It is so moving to see a room filled with state legislative champions committed to early childhood. Since before entering office, the President has made it a priority to help families access affordable, high-quality early care and education. We are so grateful to all of you for taking the time to be with us to discuss ways we can work together to make improvements in childcare. With that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Morgan Moore.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm Morgan Moore. I serve as Senior Advisor for the White House Office of Intergovernmental Affairs and with the Gender Policy Council. This convening, as you know, has been months in the making, and we're so thrilled and grateful to have you today. We have a packed agenda, as you know, and look forward to hearing about the successes from this past legislative session and also ways for all of you, us together, to make change in the upcoming session, including by serving more working families, lowering costs, and supporting providers. You'll be hearing from senior White House officials, game-changing statewide elected officials, history-making advocates, and one of the best resources of all, your fellow state legislative leaders. With that, I'm very pleased to introduce the next speaker, Jennifer Klein, Assistant to the President and Director of the Gender Policy Council.
Thank you, Morgan and Mario, and great to be with my colleagues, Tom Perez and Neera Tandon. Mario was just reminding me how old Neera and I are because we worked on childcare together in the Clinton administration, where people focused less on childcare as an economic issue. So we are both, I'm going to speak for both of us, glad to be here today. For those of us joining on the live stream, we have nearly 100 state leaders with us today, including more than 90 state legislators from 41 states, 2 governors and a lieutenant governor, to talk about how we can work together to make childcare more affordable for working families, increase childcare supply, and improve job quality for childcare workers. Building our nation's childcare system is critical to give working families financial breathing room, to enable parents to work, to create a strong workforce for a growing economy, and to invest in children at a critical time in their development. Too many families and individuals continue to struggle to access the affordable, high-quality care that they need. In January, the U.S. Department of Labor released their national database of childcare prices that found that the price of care per child can range to up to 19.3% of median family income. That's simply unacceptable. The truth is that investing in high-quality childcare is a no-brainer for several reasons. First, it gets kids ready to learn. Expanded access to childcare leads to long-lasting benefits for children, especially those who are more economically disadvantaged. These include improved health outcomes as adults, improved high school and college completion rates, and higher earnings as an adult. And second, access to childcare helps families balance their responsibilities at home and at work. Because of this, childcare makes our economy more productive. One study found that the economic impact of insufficient childcare is $122 billion in lost earnings, productivity, and revenue each year. That's why this administration has made it a top priority for families to access affordable, high-quality early care and education. During the height of the pandemic, the President secured the largest one-time investment in childcare in this nation's history. 4 out of 5 childcare providers in the country received this funding. 1 out of every 3 reported that they would have closed permanently without those resources. And those funds, of course, also increased labor force participation among mothers, according to an analysis from the President's Council of Economic Advisors. The President's budget continues to reaffirm his commitment to seeking the investments we need to transform early childhood in this country. The President secured a critical 30% increase in funding for child care last fiscal year, and to continue that progress, his budget for fiscal year '24 would cap childcare costs for a typical family at $10 per day and support free, high-quality preschool for all 4-year-olds. It would also ensure that early educators are paid at a level that reflects the value they provide to our communities. As Congress considers these proposals, the President also is not waiting to take further action to improve childcare. I'm sure you saw, but in April, the President issued an historic executive order on care, and we've already started to implement this executive order. For instance, HHS has set a payment rate floor for certain childcare providers to support better wages for workers. This floor applies to providers that participate in the Child Care and Development Block Grant, which supports 1.5 million children and their families each month. And just last week, HHS announced that this, in a proposed rule that would lower costs for families in this program, CCDBG, and encourage states to eliminate co-payments entirely for families of 4 making $45,000 a year or less. In addition, federal agencies are looking for other opportunities to support childcare and long-term care as well for workers delivering on federal projects. The President's executive order is really the most comprehensive set of actions any president has ever taken to advance care and will continue to yield dividends in the next several months and years. But we also know, you all know, that this is not enough. The fundamental challenges with care can only be fixed with the resources that President Biden has proposed in his budget and through partnership with state leaders like you who are making tremendous strides to help children, families, and providers. I'm really looking forward to the conversations and work we will undertake together today, and more importantly, beyond today, to take critical steps to ensure that working families across the country have access to affordable, high-quality care that they need and that they deserve. With that, I'm really honored to turn it to my colleague, Tom, Senior Advisor to the President and Director of the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs.
Hey, good morning, everyone. It's great to have you here. I got to give a special shout out. Where's Alaska and Hawaii? Okay, there you go. Thank you. Let's give it up for Alaska and Hawaii, okay? My goodness. You win the award for longest travel here. Special shout out to Lieutenant Governor Flanagan from Minnesota, who made history in 2018 and continues to understand that it's not just about making history, it's about making a difference. And Governor Walz, I was with last week, and Minnesota has been an absolute laboratory of democracy, an incubator of innovation on so many issues moving forward. And we're so happy to be joined in short order by Governor Lujan Grisham of New Mexico, who has been a leader in so many issues, including but not limited to child care. You know, when I was your labor secretary under President Obama, I actually traveled around the world addressing the issue of why is it that so many other industrialized countries have higher labor force participation, especially higher labor force participation among women, than the United States. Well, you know what? You don't need to be a Rhodes Scholar to figure out the answer to that one, because the answer in short order was really about making child care and paid leave important priorities. And the work that is being done in these laboratories of democracy around the country is critical. President Biden and the entire team, and I'm proud to be here with Jen and with Neera and so many others who've been working on these issues and have made it their life cause. President Biden and Vice President Harris understand that this is indeed a partnership. We are proud of the historic investments that were made under the American Rescue Plan and through other actions by the administration. But we're equally excited by what you have done at a state and local level. As someone who served in state and in local government, I understand that the rubber hits the road there. And partnership is the key to getting this done at scale. There's so much more to be done, and this day that we're going to spend here today is just a spectacular example of how we will learn from each other. So our goals are simple. We want to hear from you. We want to learn what you've been doing well. We want to learn what else we need to be doing even better. And we have a remarkable array of folks from the administration, and equally importantly, from communities across this state. It is really impressive to sit here and look at this audience and see all of you who have come here today and those of you who are on the live stream. And I'm confident that you will gain the new tools and ideas to tackle child care in your legislatures. And again, many of you have already done so. Many of you aspire to do so. You may need a little help, and I get that because I've traveled to meet so many of you. So thanks again for your dedication to this issue. This has been decades in the making. We are indeed seeing progress everywhere. We know how to reduce childhood poverty, by the way. We saw that. You know, the child care tax credit reduced childhood poverty by 40%. Unfortunately, at the moment, we can't sustain it because we don't have the political support. But we're going to keep doing it. And states have stepped up, understanding that some of the subsidies are going to wind down later this year. And states like New Mexico have stepped up. But we want to make sure we're all stepping up together because geography shouldn't determine destiny. And that is what we see all too frequently around this country. And we look forward today to having a really, really robust discussion. I love the team across all the agencies here. We work so closely with the DPC. Our IGA team is here. We've got Jen and her team, bless you, is here. Bless all of you for that matter, okay? Because we wanted to bring everyone together because there are so many people indeed working on that. And speaking of so many people working on that, let me turn this now to Erica Gallegos, the co-executive director of the Child Care for Every Family Network. Erica, thank you for the remarkable work that you have been doing.
Hello, and thank you for having me. Erica Gallegos, she, her. I am the co-director of the Child Care for Every Family Network. And before coming to the Child Care for Every Family Network, I organized in New Mexico for 12 years to pass the Early Ed Constitutional Amendment. We worked with child care providers, families, and community leaders for 12 years. I began my organizing work as a labor organizer at the American Federation of Teachers, where we were organizing child care centers in New Mexico. And in 2018, I started working at a grassroots organization called OLE as a community organizer and policy director. And before working as an organizer, I was a child care provider myself. I worked in public schools in Maryland, in Prince George's County, as well as in a private child care center in Albuquerque. But I couldn't pay my bills, so I had to leave the profession. And I happened upon organizing, so happy that I did. And I currently have an 11-year-old stepson and a 4-year-old who's in childcare right now, so I can be here with you all. So as a community organizer, I worked, as I said, with child care providers, families, community leaders, and coalition members to ensure that the issues they were facing were represented in the policy that we were working to pass at the local, state, and federal level. And this is what we did in deciding on a constitutional amendment for early education, that same process. We lobbied for 12 years and worked to pass this legislation by busing child care providers and their families and their children to the Roundhouse, our state capitol, every year. We did something called the 1,000 Kid March, where we had little kiddos marching around our Capitol building, and parents and families that took off of work to go lobby, child care providers that closed their doors, and some of them driving 5 and 6 hours to get to our state capitol. And in 2021, we finally passed the constitutional amendment through the legislature. And in November of last year, the amendment passed the voters with more than 70% of the overall vote. But before that vote happened, we worked with the current administration that used federal funding dollars to implement things that our families and our providers were facing through the pandemic. We were taking stories from the ground and sharing them with Governor Lujan Grisham and the early ed secretary, and they listened. And they implemented provider stipends through the pandemic using that money, and they increased the parent eligibility to 400% of the federal poverty level, among other things. So I don't want to paint a picture that everything is fixed in New Mexico, because more still needs to be done at the federal level to really have the universal program that we need. And this is part of the work that we're doing at the Child Care for Every Family Network, is working with local, state, and federal national organizations to pass and to win a universal child care program in our country. So with that, I am apologies. And with that, I would like to bring up Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan.
Well, bonjour. Peggy Flanagan, Indigenous Kaz, Gijiwewadum Ukwe, Indigo, Guabaga, Ganikag, Nanjunjaba, Mangan, and Nodame. My name is Peggy Flanagan. I am a member of the White Earth Band of Ojibwe. My spirit name is Speaks with a Clear and Loud Voice Woman, and my family is, yes, Jufit, thank you. And my family is the Wolf Clan, and the role of our clan is to not leave anyone behind. And so I am in the right room with all of you, and I am thrilled to be here. As I always say, when my daughter started kindergarten, that is the biggest raise I ever received. I am the mom of a 10-year-old, a rising 5th grader who still attends after-school childcare, Erica, so I know this life. And it doesn't have to be this way. And as we are here, we are dreaming big about what is possible for our children and our families to simply afford their lives. In January, Governor Walz and I outlined a plan to end child poverty and make Minnesota the best state in the nation to raise a family. And affordable and accessible childcare was a cornerstone of our children and families' budget package. Because investing in childcare means investing in our state's workforce, education, our health, and our future. I've seen the power of childcare investments firsthand, as access to the Child Care Assistance Program allowed my mom to go back to school, to get a better paying job, and to pull our family towards the middle class. And I know she is looking down on us right now, pretty excited that her daughter's speaking at the White House. This was not a handout, but a hand up. With the help of our legislative champions like Senator Melissa Wickland, who is here, and Representative Dave Pinto, and other legislators from our amazing state, we secured more than $1.3 billion to support a mixed delivery childcare system that will benefit families and providers and drive the economic and workforce development. Our investment will benefit the families who need it most by providing 27,000 additional slots in programs that help families afford childcare, including new access for foster and kinship families. Our investments in the Child Care Assistance Program, or CCAP, all y'all know the acronyms, will increase the reimbursement rates for providers to the federal standard for access. And building off the infrastructure that we developed through the Child Care Stabilization Grants made possible by the American Rescue Plan, we've created a new state-funded ongoing program to increase compensation help to recruit and retain staff, and support providers who are starting childcare businesses. The list of amazing investments and reforms that we've secured in our 2023 budget is too long to list here, but if I could highlight a few of the life-changing things that we've done, I would really enjoy that if you'll indulge me. Again, following the lead of the American Rescue Plan signed into law by President Biden, Minnesota just created a state-funded child tax credit that is estimated to reduce child poverty by at least 33%. And we are so grateful to the Biden-Harris administration for modeling that and really leading the way for us. We also passed universal access to breakfast and lunch at no cost to the student, ensuring that more students can focus on learning rather than on hunger. And as a kid with a different colored lunch ticket, I know what that means for kids. And finally, we established a statewide paid family and medical leave program with up to 20 weeks of leave. And these incredible victories did not happen overnight. It was not because of one election cycle. It took, in some cases, years of advocates and legislators working on these issues together. And I know, because I was in a lot of those conversations. And in Minnesota, we are so grateful to have such incredibly strong partners in this administration, because they understand, as you know, they understand the importance of childcare for families, but also for our economy. From lowering the cost of childcare to improving financial stability, the recently announced Biden-Harris plan to strengthen childcare and community development block grant program is another just decisive action this administration is taking to make our childcare system accessible to everyone. Minnesota will continue to partner with the Biden-Harris administration to improve childcare for families, for children, and for providers. And I look forward to the many conversations that we will have today. And please consider Minnesota a resource to you and to your colleagues. And please just know that we are in all of this work together. It is good work if you can get it. And we are so lucky to be on this team. And with that, I would like to introduce Neera Tandon.
Good morning, everyone. I have to tell you, I am so excited to be with all of you today. I'm Neera Tandon. I'm the President's Domestic Policy Advisor. And as Jen said, I have been working on childcare with Jen for over 2 decades. We worked on the Clinton administration's childcare initiatives, and so what I'm particularly thrilled about is to be with people who are spending every day putting children first. And we are grateful, as Tom said, we are grateful for what you are doing, but we're really grateful for what we will learn from you, of what's working, how we can be better partners, and basically how we can ensure that this country puts children first once and for all. So I really want to say thank you to all of you. I also just really want to give a big shout out to Erica and the Lieutenant Governor, who I have to say just gives me a jolt in the morning to see your leadership. And I think the combination you both outlined of organizing, advocacy, state leadership, federal partnership, that is how we are going to finally reach our goal of childcare, basically universal childcare across the country. So I'll say I have been working on this a few years, and it used to be that when I would speak on childcare, I'd always have to talk about, you know, what some Nordic country did, or what some country, you know, one of our allies in Europe was doing, because, you know, in most of the world, childcare is a right, not just a benefit. And so I would talk about how important it is and how countries were getting, as Jen said, these countries understood that childcare was really a win-win-win. It was a win for the economy, it was a win for families, it was a win for schools to get kids ready to learn. It really was that kind of investment we can make that pays so many dividends. And we had economists and others explaining how a $1 investment in childcare would mean $7 back to the economy. But, you know, I'd always have to go reference some other country instead of places in the United States. And then I hit upon Governor Lujan Grisham. Back in 2018, I think it was, we connected, and then I was the president of the Center for American Progress. It's a think tank here in Washington, and we had this little idea that we'd try to get childcare to be universal across the country, and the way to do that was to start in one state and see how it would go. So we invited Governor Lujan Grisham, to CAP to speak at one of our conferences, and as you'll see in a minute, she is a fighter for kids, and essentially we hatched a plan together to work on getting childcare to be basically, you know, near universal in New Mexico. And she, you know, when she comes up with a plan, she comes up with a plan. She started with having the first early child care secretary, really had the ability to work across the New Mexican government to drive policy results. She is in a cabinet level agency. She then developed a plan to essentially have expanded eligibility so that assistance reaches all the families who need it. She developed a system where we capped co-payments so that childcare isn't out of reach for families. And she basically created a really innovative model of reimbursing providers for the quality of care that they are providing, a huge challenge throughout the country. She was, you know, she's pretty smart also at pulling down federal dollars. And has been, I'd say, a galvanizer for action across the board. And so I think the really important moment here is that so often when we're trying to drive significant change, we hear from naysayers, oh, it's not possible, there'll be some waste, you're helping people who don't deserve it, and that's why it's so vital. We have the example of New Mexico and Minnesota coming online to really demonstrate the huge impact this has. And what I'm so excited about in the New Mexico model is that the governor, as she'll outline, is making the case of how this is the best investment for business and our economy, because it's a way to attract business, it's a way to attract workers, it's a way to attract long-term economic growth. And as we talk a lot here about Bidenomics and how we have to invest from the middle out and to bring everyone along, the way we do that is by investing in families, giving them the things they really need so that they don't have to make the hard choices between being a good parent and a good worker. That is a false choice. And it is a false choice our country makes families make because we choose not to make these investments. And that's why these examples are so important, because they will empower us to make the case for finally, once and for all, reaching our goal of having universal childcare across the country. That is why I'm so grateful for the incredible leadership of my very good friend, Governor Lujan Grisham.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Nira, and I don't know where Erica went. There you are, and thank you for your remarks. I'm actually going to take New Mexico just a step back, and then we're going to leap forward about this incredible opportunity that the entire country has, and we have it because the Biden-Harris administration is clear that these are false choices and they don't need to be, that we can take incredible available resources and build a platform that provides strong economic benefits while at the same time doing the social investments to lift families out of poverty and get them into the positions and careers that they desire, because it also impacts what they can and can't do in the context of their careers. So actually, New Mexico still is in a dire sort of poverty structure, right? Hundreds of years of institutional poverty in that beautiful state. It makes it very hard to climb out. And when you get ranked in the bottom of the country, you're at the Earth's core trying to come out of that environment. And for all of the advocates and policymakers here, you know that there's not a single effort that changes all of that. It's every effort, and it's really staying the course. New Mexico has been working on figuring out a way to make all of these issues cradle to career universal for 20 years. A long time. That 12-year push is the recognition that New Mexico, frankly, had resources, but they were locked away. And that work was incredibly instrumental. And Erica, I'm going to tell a story and see if you remember it. So in 19, right after I got elected, we were at a place with our policymakers. We didn't have to debate the evidence of early childhood education, right? It's all still compartmentalized. The work we do for infant mental health and home visiting over there, and the work that we're doing for childcare over there. I know this sounds very familiar. It's a little familiar even in the federal government. And then, you know, K through 12 and what we're doing for full-time, part-time, kindergarten everywhere, and it's complicated. But we took a long time to convince policymakers that the evidence about the outcomes for kiddos and families who have access to early childhood education, let's not debate that anymore. It speaks for itself. And for New Mexico, we're going to change the trajectory of kids in poor families. Whether they're ready in kindergarten or not is completely dependent upon what kind of services and access points they have early on. So we didn't have to have that debate anymore. The debate was squarely about where we get the money. All right, that was the debate. Now, New Mexico also boasts the largest educational endowment in the country, and one of the largest educational endowments in the world. So for advocates and parents like Erica, it begs the question, why aren't we spending that money in ways that can really make a difference? And there was a Democratic leader who's a very good friend of mine who just was worried that you get over your skis. And what he was looking for is, will we have a financial partner? That was the key. All right, so in 2019, we convinced him to put $320 million, for New Mexico, that's a lot of money, into a early childhood education trust fund to embrace the idea of a new department, and then co-locating and really making it easy for parents, communities, and families to navigate these set of services. But what he was looking for, and policymakers and state legislators are looking for this, what's the federal government going to do? Right? Because that stability has to be a partnership. So we sort of set our money away, and then of course, the pandemic hit. But the resources that came to states that were flexible enough to deal with essential services, right? Making sure that doctors and nurses, police officers, firefighters could go to work, that was the window of incredible opportunity for a state like New Mexico, and the federal government, this administration, this president and vice president saw it and took it and made sure that the relief money that was coming into states could be available to jumpstart and reinvent how you really approach universal access. And I don't need to be told twice that there's a bunch of money and a lot of support and a lot of expertise. And in the end, it's going to make a difference for families in New Mexico who can't afford to wait one more second for the kinds of support and services that they need. Preaching to the choir, I can't, when child care is 2/3 higher than rent and utilities, something has gone terribly wrong in this country. Every tiny step forward means a collapse in that middle class or moving people out of poverty structure, because we allow these other problems to occur and be exacerbated. So we used every single dollar, frankly about $500 million, and we did what you would expect us to do. We have 320 million sitting in a trust fund. I got 500 million of available resources right now. So what do? We trained and paid early childhood education workers and child care workers. We stopped referring to these workers as mom and dads in their own homes, as daycare providers. These are evidence-based, trained professionals that make a difference in the development of children from the very beginning. Treat them like professionals, and you will create a professional, respectful system that people will want to participate in. And in fact, it's been more than a 30% increase in their salaries. And we're not going to be done. So Erica, I got a job for you. You're not going to be done with this advocacy until our child care and early childhood workers have the same educational salary structure as our K through 12. And in New Mexico today, we're the highest paid public education workers in the Southwest. And we're not going to be done until I get to come back here, Tom, and say that they're the highest paid education professionals in the country. All right, because that's how we drive this workforce into a place that really makes a difference. All right, today that trust fund, our money, is worth about $3.5, a little more, billion. It's projected, as I told Nira, to get to $7 billion in short order. Our land grant trust fund, the endowment for every bit of our education, is rounding up just under $30 billion. And this constitutional, I know, get back, we can do it all, right? So moved into Mexico, everyone here. It means that the amendment isn't just about the constitutional right to early childhood and universal, right, access. It means that child care is also a constitutional right, to Nira's point. Because if they're not all together in a system that's meaningful to families, then we aren't going to have the results both on the educational side, nor are we going to have the results on the lifting families out of poverty and the emotional benefits to the whole family when you remove these risks from their everyday life. So I want to do two more things. When I say universal, I meant in 2019, Erica, that everyone has everything. Well, building a workforce, recovering from COVID, leveraging all of the federal funds, which is frankly, governors and legislators spend a lot of time, policymakers, figuring out how we can get every dollar. And it's not always so easy. This is my pitch to the federal government. But here, it really was. I'm going to challenge every state, when you go home, this money, and whatever you still have left to spend, is easy money to deliver for the families who are counting on you. It's some of the easiest effort with the most support as a longtime bureaucrat I've ever had from the federal government. Stick all the money that you would have had to spend on your own, including for infrastructure now. This is one-time money. You're getting a boost from the federal government. Take it. Put that money aside. Build a future for your families. Tell your professionals in this industry that it's going to be there for them because they take real risks, including now in New Mexico, because we're leveraging in this way and socking it away. We're building new child care facilities, and we're building them in sovereign nations, brand new, where we are including that we're going to protect these languages and cultural traditions by making sure that those child care centers and early childhood development work isn't just that old, and I'm happy to have it, Head Start, but it's really a comprehensive approach to making sure we're investing in families where they are and who they are. Lastly, it's the most important point. So raises, professional development, being clear that there's a whole brain science to this development, and child care. But this is, for New Mexico's economy today, and of course I'll take credit for that, is the best it's ever been. But to sustain it was the federal vision, child tax credits, making sure cradle to career investments, lifting families out of poverty, building, right, a stable financial future for all of our families, including grandparents raising grandchildren who don't have the access or the opportunities to think about careers but need all of these supports, all of it, all together. So in New Mexico, universal child care, constitutional right. It isn't available everywhere. We've got some deserts. It will get done. Thank you, President Biden. All right, it will get done. 2, we are announcing today $98 million more. Why don't we just round that up? I'll find another $2 million, $100 million, right? We're going to put that out there. That's from our other trust fund. There's pockets of money everywhere. That's another 3,000 kiddos that are 3-year-old that are going to go to early childhood education, because I want every 3- and 4-year-old in the state, no matter where they live, to have high quality access. We're doing the value-added payments that create incentives and quality and professional development and housing. We also pay for college, 2-year, 4-year, part-time, full-time, anytime, anywhere. It's the most robust college investment in America today. And it is what is driving companies to come to New Mexico. Because guess what? If you're going to move, how is it going to work in that cost of living? What are the benefits for you and your family? Well, guess what? Every single company that's coming to the state of New Mexico is now in their recruitment literature identifying the cradle to career investments that the federal government leaned in for us, allowed us to create a fast but effective science-based, evidence-based approach, and moved the needle in the fastest trajectory I think that we've seen. Now, it's not fast enough, Erica, for me, so I need you to work a little harder. But it is there. And for the advocates who worked 20 years to figure out a design, this administration heard them and put policymakers like me in the driver's seat to do the work to build an economy. We're one of the only states moving out of poverty. We're having incredible success at food insecurity. We have universal food at all of our schools, and we have no co-pays for most families in both child care and early childhood education. I mean, it's just building. Now we need to make it easier, and I'll end. This is what it'll teach you. If I can't see it, I just keep going. We are in a place where, as a lifetime New Mexican with a family that's been there since the 1500s, I see light at the end of the tunnel. I see strong, resilient families. I see an economy that cannot be broken. I see dedication to investing in children. And when you're a poor state, we have too many children who have any number of traumas or issues in their development. And I think this is the most, and there are many. I had like 10 stories, and so I know you know all these stories personally, that men and women serving our country don't make enough to pay for childcare, and that they can't both work, and if they don't both work, they're living paycheck to paycheck. It's the most disrespectful environment for any family anywhere in America. We're not going to do that in New Mexico. But for me, with a sister who had a severe disability, the most meaningful moment in this work was just over a year ago when the very first time ever an early childhood education professional was nominated and awarded Teacher of the Year. Because, you know, if you're not in the K through 12 system, you're not eligible for that recognition, including child care professionals, right? Well, they are in New Mexico. We're all in this effort together. And the mother who nominated the teacher, Tara Hughes, out of Santa Fe, made the most compelling case that we all know from the literature. But to hear it from a mom whose child, as a 3-year-old on the spectrum, with incredible behavioral and learning challenges, with a child older in the same situation, struggling through the special education environment that's not easy in any state. And we can just call that out, which is why New Mexico now has lifted and has its own special education department, because I'm done with that too. It's too hard. And because of the interventions and the easy navigation from child care to early childhood education, Her 5-year-old, who is on her way to kindergarten, while still on the spectrum, needs not a single special education investment or support. Not one. Imagine how that child, the trajectory for success in the same place as every other 5-year-old in the state of New Mexico because of those investments. We are creating a new brain architecture set of investments and strategies. And for a state where parents have been poor and kids have been disadvantaged, this, in fact, is the New Mexico miracle. And it can happen, Nira, all across the country. Now, that's Biden economics in a way that I don't even think I said it right, but it doesn't matter. Bidenomics. This is the effort that once and for all changes those poverty trajectories and that resiliency in families. I know it, I see it, and I believe today that you know it and see it too. So go home and make sure it happens in all of your states in the same way. Thank you.
Again, Assistant to the President and Director of the Gender Policy Council, Jennifer Klein.
That was so unexpected.
Well, obviously you need no introduction.
But go sit down.
We've been at this a while. But let me just say that, first of all, I hope your
Please
morning.
sit, really.
I hope your morning was great, very productive. We are really happy that you have been here all morning, rolling up your sleeves, doing your work. As I said earlier, we know that childcare is so important for all the reasons. Gets kids ready to learn, helps families be good workers as well as care for their children, and also importantly builds a strong economy. And the Biden-Harris administration, that comes directly from the top. That commitment and that knowledge that there are all three of those pieces when we talk about childcare. No one more than Dr. Biden has helped us make childcare and early education a top priority, and no one knows better the importance of childcare for the beginning of the child's entire education. So, as I said, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen. You know, you and the Gender Policy Council team have been such strong leaders on this issue, and I know the President is so grateful to you. And so, hello, everyone. I'm so happy to see you here today. And this is, you know, such an incredible group of leaders from across our country. And I'm proud to welcome you to the White House. And you know how important this issue is, and we have to make progress on it. So, as many of you know, I teach at a community college. I teach writing, actually, at a community college not far from here, Nova. Many of you may know it. And it's funny, this morning is, for me, it's all about AI and, you know, all the, I mean, my semester hasn't even started and they're already sending me all these articles. And so anyway, but, one day, a while back, one of my students came to class with her 4-year-old. And I immediately saw the distress in my student's eyes, because you really can't have kids on campus. And I knew exactly what had happened. Her childcare had fallen through, and she couldn't afford to miss class. It's funny, I can still picture exactly where she sat. And so she set up her son with a box of crayons, like we all would have done, right? And some paper in the corner of the room. And I tried to give her a smile, as I saw her looking at him nervously, just praying that he'd make it through the class. So you can imagine the anxiety she felt. And I've seen that so many times, or a different version of it. The mom who misses one day of class and then another. And then, the makeup work becomes just too much for her to handle. And, I see her just sort of fade from my classroom. Even though I try to draw her back in, she's just overwhelmed. And I never get to see, how brightly she could shine or how high she could rise if she only had the support to do it. So this is personal to me, and it's personal to Joe because he's a parent too. And he understands that childcare isn't just this nice way to help families. It's a critical piece of strengthening our workforce. So yesterday I was in Pittsburgh. Anybody here from Pittsburgh? No. Okay. Pennsylvania. Okay, you can claim it. I'm from Philly, so close enough. But opposing teams. So anyway, so this is Pittsburgh, which is a part of the new White House initiative, focused on cities' growing industries who need more workers. So Pittsburgh is revitalizing their airport and creating new jobs in the process. And we need to make sure that these amazing opportunities are available to everyone. So leaders there are investing in childcare at the airport. I never heard of that. I thought it was such a great idea. That way, the workers know that when they grow their community's infrastructure, their children are safe and growing too. So you've seen the waves that ripple out when a mom is able to pursue a career she loves because she doesn't have to worry where her child will go. When a dad can go back to school or get a promotion. When parents don't have to choose between paying grocery bills and paying the child care provider. When they can pursue their dreams knowing that their children are safe and cared for, we all benefit. And our economy grows in the process. And that's the power of your purpose here today. And it's the future of our workforce, how we strengthen the economy from the bottom up and the middle out. Joe has said that, I think, a million times. But now you hear it, right? It's part of you now. So Joe and this administration are proud to work with all of you and to create more avenues to reliable, affordable, high-quality childcare. But there's only so much we can do, without Congress's support. And that's why I'm so grateful to all of you to keep this momentum going. So many of you have found new, innovative ways to help families. From historic investments to small steps that change families' lives, you are leading the way, and every win matters. So thank you for everything you've done to support kids, child care workers, and families. Keep sharing your best ideas and working together, and know that you're not alone in this fight. Joe and his administration and I are ready and proud to stand beside you. So thank you again for being here. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Pretty good end of the day.